Gentlemen, welcome to an episode of the preview show. It's very good to have you both here. We're going to waste no time this evening. We're going to jump straight into our match preview. We are going to be coming to Dave shortly to look ahead to this weekend's visitors, Arsenal to Turf Moor. But in the meantime, Rich, we have got a game to look back on. You were at Anfield last weekend to watch the Clarets away
I was
at...
due to go, and then sickness got me down, so I managed to watch it. Yeah, I've been
Oh,
quite
bless
poorly.
you.
I've been quite poorly for the last week or so. Just managed to
Oh,
get back on tonight. Yeah, just about starting to recover now. But yeah, I wasn't able to go, but I managed to still watch the game.
well, that is impressive a feat anyway, but especially this season when it's quite a tough watch. So bravo you, that is definitely some commitment. Your general view coming out of this game was a little bit more upbeat than some people's. You're feeling like it was a pretty strong performance by the Clarets at the weekend, and they were showing some good spells to the point where you were sort of making that comparison that we've just been really, really poor against the weaker sides in the division this season, particularly our relegation rivals, but really putting in some performances against the tougher teams. Is that a fair assessment of how you felt?
Yeah, I thought overall we played really well. As everybody knows, that Anfield's a really difficult place to go. I thought we acquitted ourselves, as well as can be expected. We lost 3-1 in the end, but I thought defensively from open play, in particular, I thought we defended very well. I think Esteve and Assignon are looking two very good signings. I think it's a shame that we've not had them for most of the season.
Yeah.
And for staff in particular, I think we were very, worth going into the half time, drawing, and then second half conceded a poor goal, to get back into the game. Yeah, there's maybe a contentious decision on Ramsey. I think if he goes down, probably a foul gets given. Fafana has two gilt edge chances. Obviously, Odegaard misses with a follow up, and it could have been a different game. And then once again, they score from a second phase set piece. The first goal they scored from a set piece, and that's been our a huge Achilles heel of ours. Looking ahead to Arsenal, unless I'm wrong, I think they're the best team from set pieces this
Yeah.
season. So that's going to. I think Gabriel's scored the most. Has scored the most goals by a defender since he signed for Arsenal in so yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be difficult on the weekend. But like you mentioned, I think in the last few games against better opposition, Aston Villa away, we was very unlucky not to
You
get
were.
something. Liverpool at home on another day, we could have got something. City away was kind of a bit of a foregone conclusion, but it's kind of been our home games recently. The two home games against Luton and Fulham where we've got 2 points, but we've
Oh,
been quite
God.
fortunate to get 2 points in those games, and we've been poor. And we've beat Sheffield United at home, but some of our home performances against the teams, I don't say you should expect to beat anybody when you're a club like Burnley, but that's what's let us down, hasn't it? There's been games against Palace at home, Everton at home, just two that stand out in particular where we've lost both games and not played particularly well. West Ham at home where we was 1-0 up till about 5 minutes to go and we lost. So yeah, I think that's what's letting us down at the moment. But I think against Liverpool overall, I thought we played well. I mentioned the two defenders there. I thought Burge was superb. I thought he really played well,
Yes.
especially first half. Really drove us forward. Odegaard had his moments, and I think obviously Foster's out now for what looks like a period of time, which is a shame. But Fofana looks a handful. I won't say he's quite as cultured as what Foster is. Maybe a little bit more raw, but he's not played as much football. So yeah, there was positive to taste, but we're at this point in the season where we're so far behind. We're gonna have to pick up a surprise result here or there away at one of these big clubs
Doesn't
or
look
at
like
home
it ever.
at the weekend, and we just don't look like we know how to win a game of football or to pick up points. I think we're quite good in a lot of aspects of the pitch, but in both boxes we're actually really poor. And ultimately, that's where football games are won and lost. Defending your box well and putting the ball in the net
Yeah.
at the other end, and we're quite poor on that. And I don't know where we improve on defending set pieces. We've got a goalkeeper who's a young man who's got a lot of talent, but he's clearly got a massive weakness at coming out for crosses, and teams are exploiting that. We're doing this zonal marking system, so you're seeing on 2 or 3 occasions we was defending the 6-yard box, but Jota was just peeling off at the back post, and they were doing a deep corner, and it was just exploiting us time and time again. And
Yeah.
ultimately, that's where the third goal led from, because the ball dropped to Jota, and he was able to recycle it out wide, and Elliot put a good cross in, and I thought it was a good header from Nunes. But yeah, that's where I'll be surprised if Arsenal don't score from a set piece on Saturday, and then you're under pressure as it is from there.
Yeah, and probably pretty quickly as well. I mean, I think we've been frustrated about set pieces, and I'm glad you raised that all the way through this season. And it's frustrating as a fan watching the same thing happen over and over and over again. And you've got to, we've been very supportive of the manager. We've been very supportive of the club. We've not gone on a rampage. We've not called for Kompany's head. We've not called for the board to be sacked. We've all pretty much accepted our fate this season. I think that's disappointing, generally speaking, but we've all sort of just realized that it is what it is. But I don't understand how we've made no improvements to our set piece play. Is it just the keeper, or is it, like what
I,
can the defenders be doing to help
I
this?
think I think the keeper does play a big part in it, because when you're not, as a defensive unit, when you're not confident of what's behind you, it does put you on edge a little bit. You think about, I know it's not fair to probably compare Trafford to Pope, but comparisons though I am gonna do. But when you've got Pope and he's gonna come out and claim everything, it just puts your defense at ease. Physically, we're not a match for the other teams. When
No, we're
we
not.
can't match the other teams physically. It's as simple as that. So I'm looking at it from a defensive point of view. We're trying to go zonal marking and defend our area, trying to think, right, at least if we give players a bit of space at the back post, they're not directly in front of the goal, it might limit scoring opportunities. But there's been times where you've got like Vitinho marking one of the biggest players, or Odeberg being the nearest players, and
Yeah.
that's where I don't think zonal
Or
marking works.
Trezor.
Yeah, and we're not. I think Paulinho, I can't remember off the top of my head, because it was a near post set piece when he scored, who was the nearest player, but it wasn't one of our centre halves. You look at Esteve, who's come in, and he looks a big, powerful defender who could, dominate that aerial battle. But in the build up to that, you look at our team, and there's not much height in there. They're a set of young lads, so I think there's that. And then you're coming up against beasts in the Premier League now. They're all athletes.
Yeah.
You look at even some of your average teams, and they're absolutely huge, and it is
Look
hard to
at
compete
Luton
against.
come up with us. They look head and shoulders above us physicality wise.
Well, well, that's what they were. Well, they were that in the Championship, weren't they?
Yeah.
You can't, and I think in the Championship you get more of the ball, and if you make mistakes on the ball, you win it back quicker because teams don't punish you the same. And we had defensive frailties last season. How many goals did we concede from crosses and set
Yeah.
pieces last year? We conceded a lot.
Exactly. Yeah. Muric
Um,
wasn't the saviour last season either, to be
no,
fair.
it,
He had
it
the same
wasn't, but
criticisms.
yeah. So unless I just think we're not physically big enough and strong enough to deal with these set pieces. And I do think the way we're set up isn't right. I think, and I think Kompany and the set piece coach, we can go on forever. We say we practice them on the training ground. But teams are exploiting us massively. Like you said, there's so many games which you look at recently where we have conceded from set pieces, and it's just really frustrating because we're playing well there's games where we're playing really well, and you're like, oh, 1-0 down again.
Yeah.
And I think
We
that's a
seem to
really frustrating
start
element.
we seem to start the games like for the first 10 minutes to be looking really, really good. And we fall into this trap of, hey, you know what? We're looking really good here. And then we concede the ridiculous goal that's really like lazy goal, and it's too easy a goal to concede. And then the game just is lost. And
It's
it's
just a
just
lack of
like,
confidence. It's a
yeah,
lack of confidence as well. When you're losing game after game after game, and you concede that first goal, it's almost that sinking feeling again. You feel it in the stadium,
yeah,
and I think there's an element of when we play the bigger sides, there's probably a bit of pressure off. We're not expected to win, but then there's a little bit of when we're at home against some of the weaker sides, that expectation's there, and we can't quite seem to rise to it. And that's what Dyche's team did really well when we were
yeah,
successful.
you're
We
right.
always used to beat the teams around us, and we've not been able to do that this season, and that's why the reason we are where we are.
Yeah.
Um,
One final bit on that, then you mentioned this before when we talked about the fact that we're going to have lost Lyle Foster again for a short spell out of the side. One of the themes this season, which has frustrated me, which hasn't just been as a result of injuries, but has also been a result of with Kompany's team selection. I don't feel like we've had a settled side all season, and that has got to have played a
not
part.
enough. We've been unlucky with injuries, like I said. Collie Osho was really getting into his stride, and I thought Amdouni looked better when he was playing with Collie Osho. They seem to have a really good understanding. Collie Osho's pace seems to create a bit more space for Amdouni. Bayer's not been able to get fit. Taylor's had injuries. But that's football. You're gonna get injuries, and ultimately you're gonna change the side a little bit more when you're not winning to try and have a winning formula. I think of late he has found a little bit more of a settled side. Where earlier in the season there was 3, 4, 5 changes per game. So he
Tends
has
to just
found
be
more.
injuries now, doesn't it, rather than just a tactical
Yeah,
change?
and for final come straight in for Foster. I think Taylor will. I think you look at the defence. I've been critical of O'Shea. I think the last podcast I was critical, but you know what? Fair play, O'Shea is getting better.
He is.
Uh,
It's
he
just
is
not
getting.
good enough for this league, though. That's the problem. It's not his fault.
He is. He is what he is, and I look at him maybe compared to. Maybe this is harsh of me and something I need to look at. I compare him to the centre halves we've had in the past. Me, Tart,
Talking,
Keane.
yeah.
And even, you look at Palace, who are struggling this season, they've got like Gueye and Anderson, who are just a level above.
Yeah.
And that's what, but ultimately, when, and Everton, who's our closest competitors, yes, I know the points deduction, but they've got Tarky and Branthwaite, so that's where we're at. But I think if you look at the defence, if we can keep this settled defence of Assignon, Taylor, fullbacks, Esteve, O'Shea, maybe Bayer will come back in for O'Shea. I generally think there's a better back four there. You can really see the
Oh,
step up.
really? That's interesting.
But you can see the step up in class from like
Yes.
Assignon, from Vitinho and Roberts.
Yeah.
It's like a massive step up. He's a Premier League player. Esteve looks a Premier League player.
But we're only going to get to keep these if we stay up. So again,
I thought we're going to keep these. I thought Esteve was a deal done anyway. I thought we were
I
keep.
thought it was dependent on us getting.
Well, Matt Williams said no on his thing
Oh,
too,
did
and
I?
Dave's
Great.
shaking
Yeah,
his head.
I
I'm
haven't
not
watched
sure
it
on
yet.
Assignon as much, but I don't know if Assignon's the same as Esteve, but Esteve will be staying.
Right. Well, that's
So
good because that's my thing as well. And
is
I've been.
Assignon the same, Dave?
No, it's just Esteve. Esteve's
Just
staying
Esteve.
So
regardless.
is Assignon dependent on league status?
Yeah, very
Oh,
much
that's
so.
a
Yeah.
shame because we're going to end up in the same position. Though this is my frustration with this season, and I've been very vocal about this, and I have said this at fan advisory board meetings as well. We keep being sold this idea that we've got a project and that we're ahead of schedule and we've got. See, he's just talking to himself. Are you all right there, Rich? Do you want to just carry on talking to your missus while we're on the podcast?
Oh, sorry, I thought I muted. Press the wrong button.
I love it. Listeners, that was a little insight into
edit that out.
domestic. No, I can leave it in. That's funny. Sorry, I'll go back to what I was saying. I've been very vocal about this. We keep being told about this 3-year plan and trust the process and blah blah blah. But we keep seeing these players, the players from last season that didn't join us this year because they were loan players and we didn't manage to sign them. Players this season which will get sold at the end of the summer because they're too good for the championship. Players that are going to come in and are obviously like Assignon, who are going to be really, really good and potentially fall in love with them as a great player. And they're just going to go because we've got relegated. It's just stop, start, stop, start. And one of the challenges this season has been to build that relationship and that camaraderie with a group of players that we don't yet feel a connection with. So I do feel like there is still a bit of a challenge with that in terms of how does Vicent Kompany get us back to where we were last season, but keep that going forward because
by winning games, just simple.
Yeah, but it wasn't
me,
just winning games though, Rich.
It was. 100%.
You don't think that the summer's recruitment made a big difference in that, and then the tinkering at the beginning of the season?
If you win games, you have a connection to the team. If you don't win games, you don't have a connection. To me, it's really. I think it's been.
But what about the Daesh years though?
But we won.
No, but not in the last couple of seasons when we were going down.
But we had these lads got us to Europe. These lads got us 10th in the Premier League.
So that was the length of service we'd already got there in the bank.
Just because we had 6 months of not being too successful, 6, 8 months doesn't write off 6, 7, 8 previous years. If we win games, you get a connection to the players, and I see this maybe a bit differently, and I get Masengo. You know, he's been great. He puts stuff on social media, and people are getting annoyed by like the lack of kind of like players just put in mundane messages on Instagram.
I feel that, to be honest.
But every single footballer at a Premier League club will do the same. Go on any club's social media, and it'll all be the same. It's all generic. Tweet that they'll have the
It's a
media person.
stockpile of "let's go again."
But that's what every club does. But that's the game now.
I know.
I don't understand why. Maybe I'm different because I'm not from. I don't care what Josh Brownell puts on Instagram. I couldn't care less. I care what goes on the pitch, and the connection's
I think that's
not
the problem,
there.
Rich.
If Amdouni scored 20 goals this season and we was 10th in the league, we'd have a connection with him.
Yeah, so I guess.
But
Yeah,
Teller
no, you're right. But then
Teller scored. So you have a connection with him, and because he's done well, he's able to feed off that confidence, and it just grows and it grows and it grows, and then you see his personality. When you've got these young lads coming in and they're not successful and they go into the shell a little bit, you're not going to feel that proper connection when you've won one home game all season and you've got 13
I think for us,
points.
Particularly as a community club, though, Rich, that's one of the challenges that we face as fans in football in 2024. That's quite hard for us because we've always felt that at Burnley. No, I know. I don't disagree with you, but I'm saying.
And without being horrible, this is what you get when you get lads over from Europe. Like, these lads are purely coming from Burnley as a stepping stone in the career. And they're probably going to be here. And the model is for 1 or 2 years and they're going to move on. It'll be quite rare moving forward that we're going to have your Barnes, Tarkies, Mees, Westwoods, Boyd going, Arfield going back a little bit, where they're going to stay that real length of time because there's two options. What's going to happen for Burnley if we get in the Premier League with these European lads? Either they're not good enough and we sell them, or they're good enough and they go after a season or two because the value goes up, and that's gonna and this is what's gonna. And you might get the odd player who kind of is that level at Burnley and he stays there and grows a connection. But the connection grows with just winning games of football, after the game, clapping the players off, giving it, when Kompany used to give it to the big one, to the cricket field stand. You can't keep doing all that when you don't win games. Yeah. So I know me and you have a little bit of a disagreement on this. That's just the way I see it. I think it's just quite a simple. I'm not too fussed about it all really. It don't really bother me about this connection thing, or I feel disconnected. I don't feel.
I'm the opposite. I'm a lot more. I'm a bit more emotional when it comes to it.
I don't feel disconnected with a club. I just think we're not having a good season. It's just as simple as that. I think some of the stuff I've seen is a bit over the top. The clubs. The club's a disaster. There's no connection. That's
we're
just not winning. I think the club's in a decent position. We've just got a lot wrong this season.
Financially, we are, and ambitious-wise, we are, and I think that's great. But I do think we've made a lot of mistakes this season.
Yeah, we have massive mistakes in recruitment. We've signed players who are probably a little bit too inexperienced. We've signed too many of that. We've signed too many of the same type, your winger types and attacking players. We've probably not got enough experience and solidity in key areas of the pitch. And kind of that's the thing where we are. But yeah, I just think in terms of connection, it's hard to get that when you win, when you get 13 points from 24 games. It just puts everyone in a crap mood.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And gosh, listeners, Rich and I have had so many conversations.
I don't think I'm right at all. I just think that's and I'm happy for people to tell me I'm wrong. And we come on this because we have an opinion, and that's my kind of like view on it. And it's that I think we've got a lot of good. One thing I will say, and I'll disagree with, considering how bad we've been, I think we have turned up overall recently. Fulham aside, for staff, we were poor. I thought the lads have kept going. We've got a lot of young players. Someone like Amdouni who's got a lot of stick. He's not been great the last few games, but
I don't understand that. I don't know why Amdouni's got so much stick, to be honest.
He's just not putting the ball in the back of the net, and it's frustrating. He misses chances, and he can go missing. And it can go missing in games a little bit. But I know you can maybe say about Ramsey backs out of challenges a little bit. Ramsey does frustrate me a little bit. He's a bit lackadaisical for this level. But I think overall we have to, we're not getting the results, but I don't think it's a lack of me personally. This is my opinion. I don't think it's a lack of effort. I think it's a lack of quality, a bit of bad coaching, and a bit of naivety is the reason we are where we are now.
Yeah. Wise
So,
words from Rich. No, I'm glad. Like I say, listeners, Rich and I have had these debates so many times off air, and I wanted to bring them on air because I just think they're interesting, and I think I wanted to bring that to the masses. So, listen, nothing that Rich has said surprises me because I've had this debate lots. Rich,
and I get where you're coming from too. You probably want to see a little bit more personality from the players and to see but I just think it's the age we're in now. Players are just
we're gonna have to
media
suck it up,
trained
aren't
to
we?
the eyeballs,
Yeah, you're probably
unfortunately.
right.
Yeah.
Right, before I'm going to let you go because I know it's quite a late recording for you. So I'm going to
Okay.
let you drop off, have the rest of the night off, and me and Dave will
Cheers.
go on and do the preview show. Before you go, give us a quick prediction for Saturday.
3-1 again.
Yeah, you think we'll score though?
Yeah, I think
That'd
there
be
is
great.
goals in the start, isn't there? I think we've scored in the bar Liverpool. Dave will correct me. I think we've scored in a lot of games recently. Going back to that, going back to kind of like Fulham away, then Villa away. We got City, Liverpool this time, Fulham.
Yeah.
We got a couple Luton. So we are
Actually,
finding
yeah,
it.
we are scoring. I think you're probably right.
It's just the other end that we need to secure a little bit more. So yeah, I don't think we'll get battered. I don't think we'll have a West Ham where they come and batter us 4-5, 6-0 or anything. But I just think we'll play well in patches. We have moments where we really cause some problems, but we'll just concede probably a couple of weak goals. Essentially from set pieces again. So 3-1 to Arsenal.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much,
Cheers.
Rich. Lovely to have you on, and we'll see you again next week.
See you
Bye,
both. Enjoy,
Rich.
Dave. Bye bye.
So there we go, Dave. You and me. Let's let him go. I promised him that I would just keep him on for a little bit because we are recording this quite late at night, and it's a little bit late for him. So you and me are the night owls, Dave. We're the ones who do the preview show late at night. So let's get moving on. We are, of course, looking at the visit of Arsenal this coming Saturday. It's the 17th of February. It's a 3 p.m. kickoff, not televised anywhere in the UK. Do you want to kick us off with your preview show, Dave, please, to talk through your match results summary?
Certainly, yes. Although Burnley have managed to beat Arsenal at Turf Moor more recently in cup competitions, we haven't done so in a home league match for over 50 years. But our overall all-time record is more positive. 51 past league meetings at Turf Moor have produced 21 Burnley victories, 13 draws and 17 wins for our visitors. The goal tally in these matches stands at 70 to Burnley and 59 to Arsenal. However, these stats are masked by 10 home wins out of 13 from 1897 to 1926, including 3 from the very early days when our opponents were still known as Woolwich Arsenal, and later on 9 wins out of 13 between 1954 and 1965. Our only wins from the last 16 home meetings in the league were in December 1967 and also December 1973. And we'll explore the last of those 2, which was also our most recent home league win over the Gunners, as I want to remember very soon. In the Premier League era, Arsenal have visited Turf Moor 8 times and have come away with all 3 points on 5 occasions, as well as there being 3 draws. But 4 of Arsenal's 5 wins were by a 1-0 scoreline, with several of these aided by some outright diabolical refereeing decisions. Maybe the tables will turn and this will start to even itself out this weekend. You're on mute.
Oh, look at that, listeners. I've been talking away to myself on mute. We've got a few errors coming into this podcast this week. I was laughing, Dave, at your the venom with which you said some diabolical refereeing decisions then. I did. I wondered how long you've been saving up to be able to get that one out of your system.
Definitely.
Definitely. Well, let's move on then. You did already mention, you teased us then with your preview of our one to remember and one to forget feature, where we look back at 2 different games for 2 very different reasons. And I think, Dave, if we stick to form, you're going to kick us off with the one to forget, please.
Certainly am, yes. Would you like to hear the one about the offside handball goal in stoppage time from October
well,
2016?
I'm still not over that one, but yes, let's go for that one.
Well, it was so ridiculous that even VAR would have ruled it out, but sadly, on-pitch referee Craig Pawson and his assistants thought everything was fine. This was still a couple of years before video replays, if you recall, and
I do.
reportedly one of the incidents that was instrumental to it being introduced. Or maybe we could give you two for the price of one and remind you of the match from the following season in November 2017, when the Welsh Aaron Ramsey theatrically flung himself to the floor under very little contact from James Tarkowski and was somehow awarded a penalty, again in stoppage time. Alexis Sanchez was involved both times, scoring the penalty in 2016 and then providing the cross in 2017. But personally, I'm still raging at the mere thought of both of these matches. So perhaps it's time to protect my blood pressure and move on to something more positive now.
Go ahead then, Dave. What is your match? I'm loving this section. What is your match to remember?
Okay, well, we mentioned earlier that over 50 years have elapsed since Burnley's last home league win against Arsenal. So let's take you back and look at the particulars of that match. The Clarets have made a strong start to life back in the top flight after winning the second division title in 1972-73 with Jimmy Adamson's team of the 70s. And on the 15th of December 1973, the Gunners, managed by Bertie Mee, arrived at Turf Moor. The visitors took an early lead through John Radford after only 7 minutes, and it stayed that way until the break. But the Clarets attacking the B-hole end in the second half were a different prospect entirely. In the 62nd minute, a free kick from Leighton James found Ray Hankin inside the box, and he turned and fired an equaliser past Bob Wilson. And then in the 78th minute, the match was won with a well-taken volley from Colin Waldron. As well as the 13,000 supporters inside the ground, Burnley Express reporter Peter Higgs was impressed with the quality of the football. And his report had the headline, "This was a tribute to British soccer." Burnley remained in third position in the table, behind Leeds United and Liverpool. Meanwhile, Arsenal dropped 2 places down to 12th position.
Ooh, some good stuff in there. So that I was literally a couple of seasons ago when I learnt that the "We Are the Longside Burnley" song wasn't Bertie B. I didn't know who
Bertie
wrote it.
Mee, yeah.
I didn't know, but listen, I accept some criticism for some things. I think it's pretty harsh to criticise me, considering that our mascot is called Bertie B, and I'd never heard of Bertie Mee before. But anyway, that's one for another day. One for another day, Dave. Okay, where are we moving to? Opposition view. We have our good friend Dan Potts from AFTV, who's going to give us his views, please, ahead of the game.
Yes, people, it's Dan Potts here from AFTV and Football's 12th Man podcast. Big up to the No Nay Never podcast for allowing me to give my thoughts on the upcoming fixture this weekend. Listen, it's never going to be easy in the Premier League. You never quite understand what Premier League slip-ups are around the corner, but I am confident going into this game, just for the pure fact that we've now found a little bit of form. After we come back from Dubai, there's definitely been some changes of Arsenal in terms of our style of play. I think we're a lot more free-flowing than we've been for a while. I also think that our set pieces have massively improved since we've seen Declan Rice getting on them at corners and at free kicks. Swinging the ball in, we're actually looking a bit more of a threat with Gabriel and Saliba and Ben White and Kai Havertz and some of the physical attributes that we have in the side that can actually cause some problems. We also look a lot more free-flowing and are actually scoring some goals. We've scored 16 goals in 4 games now, 5 against Palace, 6 against West Ham. So I am confident, you know, from the Liverpool game onwards, I would say. Against Palace, it can happen. Yeah, they're not in good form at the moment. Against Forest, we've always struggled over there, to be fair, at the City Ground. It's a tough place to go. We got the job done. But actually, the dominance that we showed in the Liverpool game has really filled me with some confidence. And I think the absolute demolition of West Ham has given all Arsenal fans that huge lift that we want going into this game, that perhaps we could go and get a few goals past Burnley, who, let's be real, when I was on here last time I said I haven't been impressed by Burnley, I haven't been impressed by Vicent Kompany, and a few months on, nothing's really changed for me. I felt against Liverpool, you gave him a little bit of a scare, but let's be real, I think their quality shone through. But I haven't seen any amazing, outstanding performances individually from Burnley. You know, when you're looking around thinking that perhaps, you know, Sander Berger and Lyle Foster and Kelly Oso, is it? I don't know if I've got that name right. They're probably the only three that have stood out this season for me. I'm struggling to look at who else there's been. Now, James Trafford, lightweight, but a good shot stopper. But some of the other players, I don't know, man. I've been disappointed with Burnley. And I'll say this to all the Burnley fans watching and listening. What other manager has the amount of pressure on them or less pressure on them than Vicent Kompany? And what I mean by that is, you haven't won games for a while. You haven't gone on any form of run this season where you've put 3-4 runs together, wins together. And there's been absolutely no pressure on Vicent Kompany. And I find that bizarre for me because Steve Cooper was sacked at Forest. Obviously, Sheffield United have got Wilder back in. And Palace have now got rid of Roy Hodgson. Everybody that's down there has either pulled the plug or there's been pressure on them to pull the plug. And with Vicent Kompany, maybe he's just got so much credit in the bank that he can play poorly, the team can't really turn up, and he's just going to be safe whatever. Now, you might think, I'm talking negatively here or pessimistically here potentially, but you might think, do you know what, he's got us up before, we're looking like we're going to go down. Let's keep hold of Vicent Kompany because we know he can do the job to get us back up. But I haven't been impressed by any style of play. I wouldn't know what the style of play at Burnley is. I haven't seen any identity from Vicent Kompany. I haven't seen any philosophy or understanding of how Burnley try to play football. So, I don't know, man. Would you rather pull the plug and get a manager that can try and keep you up? Or would you just accept you going down, keep playing the way you're playing, keep Vicent Kompany, and use your parachute payment to get a few players in and try and go back up next season? That's where I'm at with Burnley. As for this game, I think you can cause some problems for Arsenal. Absolutely. I think that we could get caught out potentially. But I do fancy Arsenal. I do. I think it will be fairly comfortable for us the way that we're playing at the moment. I think we're on fire. Saka and Martinelli have really shown up. Looking to play Trossard in that false nine where he's been phenomenal. Martin Odegaard has been unplayable in the last few games. Defensively, we've been solid with Gabriel and Saliba and Rice sitting in front of them. That trio has been phenomenal this season and three of the best players for Arsenal so far, 100%. So I'm going to go for a comfortable 3-0 victory. And maybe that is being optimistic, but I just feel like the confidence in the team and the form right now proves that that's what I'm going to go for. So I'm going to go Arsenal 3, Burnley 0. Big up to all of you. Make sure you like and subscribe. If you do want to come follow myself and support Football's 12th Man podcast, that'd be amazing. You'll see Natalie and some of the other reps on there as well. So make sure that you follow that, please, people. We'll see you next time. Come on, the Arsenal.
Okay, referee Dave. Hit me up with some referee stats.
Okay, we've got Liverpool-based Aussie, Jared Gillett. He's going to take charge of this Saturday's match at Turf Moor, and it'll be just the fourth occasion he's refereed a game involving the Parrots. The other three occasions have produced 1 win, 1 draw and 1 defeat. Last season, we came from behind to beat West Brom 2-1 at Turf Moor, and later in the campaign, we drew 0-0 with Sunderland, also at the Turf. He also took charge of our 1-0 defeat at Wolves earlier this season. That was back in December. There were no red cards in any of those 3 matches, and the yellow card count to date stands at 7 to Burnley players and just 3 to our opponents. On this occasion, Paul Tierney will have access to all the replays as the video assistant referee.
Good stuff. Well, we've already talked at length about, with Rich, about our plans for Saturday. We've talked about the likely starting lineups. I imagine, apart from Fofana coming in for Foster, that it will pretty much be the same as what we're expecting. So I'm just going to get a score prediction off you, please, Dave, and just a general feel about how you think the game's going to go.
I think it'll be a tough one. I don't think we'll get battered like West Ham did last weekend. I think it's difficult to predict a Burnley win. I don't think Burnley are going to win, but we might possibly get a draw. I think we need to get some surprise results from somewhere, and I think we might just surprise them and get a draw.
Dave, this must be like the 3rd or 4th time this season where in the face of adversity, you've gone with a draw. I'm ever so proud of you.
I'm giving our listeners false hope, aren't I?
You are, but I love it all the same. I do love it. I'm also going to go for a draw then. I'm going to say that Burnley are going to win 2-2. 2-2. I think we're going to go 2-0 down. We'll pull one back before like half time and we'll get a really late equaliser and it'll be amazing. We'll leave Turf Moor 2-2.
I think if we go 2-0 down, we won't win. I think we're more likely to go in front.
Listen, at this moment in time, Dave, we're in fantasy land, so let's not worry about the realistic. We are predicting that Burnley are going to get a draw at home against Arsenal. Let's not worry about whether or not we think if we go 2-0 down, we'll get it back. I don't think our predictions are particularly legitimate, do you? Okay. Okay, let's move on. Do we have a miscellaneous stat of the week at all?
No, we don't.
Yeah, so instead then, let's move on to everyone's favourite feature of the preview show, where we rate our opposition fans, celebrity fans. Our opposition's celebrity fans. Who have you shortlisted this week? Who have you made up?
Well, and just for you in the script, I mean, we can perhaps tweet this picture out later as well. We've got some pictures of the players, of the fans in Arsenal shirts as well. So
it's gone defensive, listeners.
Made.
It's gone defensive because I keep it. Okay, I'm not being funny, but some of the examples you've been pulling out of the bag recently have been utter nonsense. So
absolutely,
so I want proof now. I want proof of shirts. So he has put them in the script, listeners, and we'll let Dave tweet the picture out later on. Go on then. Who have you shortlisted and made up for this week's Arsenal celebrity fans, please, Dave?
Okay, our 6 celebrity fans for Arsenal are as follows. First of all, Idris Elba, the 51-year-old London-born film and TV actor, has been on our screen since the mid-1990s, but he actually started out performing in reconstructions on Crime Watch. His career has blossomed since then, and he's one of the UK's best-known stars. As well as being a long-time Arsenal fan, he's also been involved with a No More Red campaign to try and reduce youth knife crime. Secondly, Lewis Hamilton, 39-year-old Formula One racing driver from Stevenage, is arguably the sport's greatest of all time, with 7 world titles and over 100 individual race wins. Although he started out as a gooner when he was aged just 5 or 6, his uncle was a Chelsea fan and he used to go and watch both teams during his childhood. Next up, Sir Mo Farah, the legendary long-distance runner, now aged 40. He retired in 2021, but was a multiple gold medal winner and with world and Olympic titles at 5,000 and 10,000 metres. And he's the most successful British track athlete in modern Olympic Games history. JJ Olatunji is better known as London-born YouTuber KSI. Now 30 years of age, he's accumulated well over 40 million subscribers across 3 channels on the platform. He's also used his internet fame to launch a successful side career as a musician and has been a part-time boxer. Number 5, 42-year-old TV presenter Holly Willoughby was born in Brighton and started out as a presenter on the CITV Saturday morning show Ministry of Mayhem, but is best known for a 14-year stint as co-presenter on ITV's Good Morning alongside Philip Schofield. So that's 5. And last and definitely least, just to balance things out a little bit, we've also included 58-year-old journalist and broadcaster Piers Stephen O'Meara from Reigate in Surrey. Who's that, you ask? Well, he's probably best known to me and you as all-round idiot Piers Morgan. Former editor of I was going to use another word there and decided not to.
Family-friendly show, Dave.
Yes. He was the former editor of the News of the World and then the Daily Mirror before being fired in 2004. Since then, he's been on our screens as a talent show judge, TV presenter, and occasional talk show host, as well as being a part-time shit stirrer on social media.
Oh, you're going to have to get down. I'm going to have to remind producer Matt to get his bleep button out. Well, it's a difficult one, is that one. I think until we get to the 6th out of 6 name on that list, it's a pretty decent list, but he just brings the list down massively. So I would have given them probably an 8 for the first 5, but I'm going to drop them down to a 6 now, purely because Piers Morgan's in there.
I think that's fair enough.
Yeah,
that was the hope.
Yeah, 6 out of 10. Arsenal, I'm sorry, you have been plagued, Arsenal fans, with that clown as an Arsenal fan, so I'm sorry you've been dragged down. Well, that's all we've got time for in terms of our preview show. Any community news that we want to leave our listeners with, please, Dave?
Yeah, a couple of things to go through. This Saturday, some of the team from the Clarets Collected initiative, who are usually based at Burnley Library, will be in the fan zone at Turf Moor. They're trying to collate your photographic memories of going to watch the Clarets for an exhibition called BFC and Me. Look out for them to find out more and see how you can get involved. Basically, they're looking for your photographs, whether they're digital photographs or old-fashioned traditional photographs, which you can get scanned, and they're trying to collate those for an exhibition. So that'll be really good. I think they've got some examples that you can see of other people's they've got so far, but they're looking to get more. And if anyone can help out, they'd be very grateful. And then finally from me, a quick FPL reminder. There's no Friday evening match this weekend. So you have until 11 a.m. on Saturday morning. That's 90 minutes before the Brentford v Liverpool match kicks off at 12:30 to make any last-minute transfers, team changes, or to decide on playing one of your remaining chips. Green arrows, as always, to all of our No Nay Never FPL managers ahead of game week 25.
Where are your green arrows, Dave?
They're there, but I forgot them.
Oh, Dave, bring them back next week, please. Thank you, Dave, as ever, for all of that info ahead of the Arsenal game at the weekend. My thanks as ever go to everybody who has contributed to making this episode, to my guests, Rich Steele, and of course, Dave Statman-Roberts, who puts in a phenomenal amount of effort for the previous show, and he is a huge asset to the team. We do adore him. Producer Matt for editing and putting it together, for Adam Dennett, our FPL expert, and the rest of our panelists for basically giving us material all week. Even though they're not on the show, they do feed through our comments and give us the material that we need to do those discussions for this podcast. So thank you all to No Nay Never team. Our thanks go to you, the listener, finally, for downloading and listening to this episode. Your support is very much appreciated. We will be back next week with an analysis show following that that Arsenal game at the weekend, hopefully with that draw or even better to talk about, as we are heading down to just 13 games after this weekend left to look at this season. I've been Natalie Bromley. This has been the preview show brought to you by the No Nay Never podcast. Until next time. The No Nay Never podcast is brought to you in association with the TalkSport Fan Network. Our host and editor is Natalie Bromley, and the show is produced by Matt Moss. Our resident statistician is Dave Roberts, and our FPL expert is Adam Dennett. The Analysis Show team is collectively Tom Whittaker, Rich Steele, George Poole, Charlotte Rigby and Adam Dennett. Our music is provided by George Gaskell, and our newsletter team is headed up by Jamie Smith. If you don't already, you can subscribe to our newsletter by visiting nonaynever.substack.com. Thanks as ever go to our partners TalkSport. We are proud to be associated with the TalkSport Fan Network.